Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Sunday. Looks like we are back for another trading week, guys. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna send out this link real quick, and then once I set out this link, we can get started with our chart analysis for the upcoming week. So let me see the location. Let's get this all set up real quick, and then we can get started, guys. That posted up right there. We got a few seconds for it to load. Let me get this up real quick. All right, let me post up these links real quick, guys, and then we can get started. Done with that. Post links up over here so people can join in. Chart. I think that's good. Let me post it on our Facebook real quick, and then we can get started. What's up, Kurt? How's it going, bro? Your weekend was good. Ready for trading week to get started, right? I think some of you guys took some of the trades that we're looking at, like this US 30 trade that we took using the new strategy Josh introduced. And then our EA from last week still active too. It's in like some slight drawdown right now. You can see I'm like 86 negative right now, but I think it's going to swing back down from this point and drop from there. But we'll see how this plays out. Let me just finish sending out this link real quick to our social media pages, and then we can get started. What's up, Josh? How's it going, man? Here's your Sunday fun day strategy over here, bro. let's hope that it hits. And we'll just have to let it play out because it's going to take some time. But I mean, we'll see how it works out from now until market open tomorrow. Let me just post this up real quick to the other pages. What's up, Tune? How's it going, bro? Post this up to here real quick. Get this on the, there we go. Got that on the Facebook. Let me send the email out to the rest of the group as well. But yeah, guys, if you guys are brand new here, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I can analyze pretty much, anything you guys want. Or if you guys have any trading questions in general, I can get to that as well. It's really up to you guys. It's pretty much open forum today, depending on what you guys want for the most part. Let me just copy this over right here. All right, I think this is it for these links. Oh, one last place. Let me post it on the Instagram real quick. Josh said, I know, bro, I'm sweaty. No, you're good, bro. The entry looks really good, actually. It looks pretty solid. It's just going to take some time for it to, actually play out because the market did just open. So volatility just isn't there. And, from the back test, sometimes it takes like a couple hours before it actually hits. So I'm not even worried about it at all. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm pretty much going to set and forget it, let it play out till tomorrow. And then we'll just see how that plays out. Let me just post up this link real quick on our Instagram. Get that swipe up button. I think that's about it. All right, cool. So it looks like we're good to go, guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat so that I can answer any questions that you guys have with regard to, any analysis that you guys want me to check out, any trading questions, anything in general, really. If you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat and then I'll add you to the list. Otherwise, if you guys are familiar with how this session goes on Sunday, basically what I do is I pull up all of these pairs here, and then I'm going to draw zones like I have right here from last week, but I'll draw some updated zones for this week so that you guys can understand, exactly where to trade and where not to trade with regard to these rejection points. Because you can see right here that price generally respects these zones pretty nicely. like price will come up, reject off this zone, come down, reject off this point, and it pretty much just bounces from zone to zone. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing today. In addition, I'll be answering any questions that you guys have throughout the session. So I'm going to answer some questions first, and then from that point, I'll go through the entire chart analysis. You guys can see here that I added a couple other things to the watch list. I added the indexes. So I added like the Aussie index here. So if we're like looking at these Aussie pairs and we're looking to sell them, you know, obviously they're all red right here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and analyze the Aussie index when I'm taking these trades, so that if it's coming down right here, you know, obviously this is going to indicate that the Aussie's weak. So if we're taking sells for these pairs right here, it's going to line up because they correlate, right? Same situation with like, you know, these Euro pairs over here. If they're all bullish or if they're all bearish, that'll give you that confluence with regard to, you know, how to trade them. If we look at the EXY over here, the Euro index, if this is super weak, like obviously it's super weak, right? It's been pushing down for some time now. So if this is weak, this is going to indicate that most of the Euro pairs are probably going to head down, right? These are probably going to be weak. So this is super weak right here. And that's why I'm still fine about this position right here, because I see it rejecting off this point and then coming down. You know, double-edged sword here is when we're taking EA right here. We're looking at both the Aussie index and the Euro index. The only difference with this is that the Aussie index actually has an overall uptrend, right? It has an overall uptrend. So that's why I still think that this is going to head down, because if you guys are familiar with how, you know, these pairs work, if price is going down, that indicates that the second currency is stronger than the first. If price is going up, that's going to indicate that the first currency is stronger than the second currency. So for example, here we have the Euro index right here. It's obviously in a strong, you know, overall downtrend right here. And then we have the Aussie index in an overall uptrend right here. So with this little push up right here, I see this as temporary. I think it's going to swing back down because, you know, looking at these confluences right here, obviously the Aussie is going to be stronger than the Euro overall, right? Because the Euro index here is overall weak, and the Aussie index over here is overall strong. It's just having like some small pullback right here. It's probably going to swing up from this point, come down, test the structure, swing up from there. Same situation with the Euro index over here. It's kind of just pushing up slightly, and then it'll probably come back down eventually, right? So that's just another addition to the watch list. If you guys are wondering, you know, what these assets are here with the blue highlighter next to them, they're just the indexes. I added the Aussie index, Euro index, British pound index, New Zealand index, dollar index, Canadian index, Swiss index, and lastly, Japanese index right here, just so that I can have that extra confluence when analyzing these pairs. You know, obviously it'll make more sense later when I'm actually analyzing a pair. But that's the reason why I added these to the watch list. We're not going to draw zones on here because it's irrelevant. You know, we're just looking at how strong the actual index is for the currency. So we're not going to draw zones for these, but obviously we're going to go down all of these pairs over here. So let me go ahead and take a look at everything else, and we can get started. So let's see, we have one question over here from Stevie. Stevie wants me to analyze gold. So let me add that to the list right here, Stevie. So Stevie, gold. Morning, Andrew. How's it going, bro? Life Plus said, hey, what is the new strategy? I'll go over that right now as well. So for that, I'll go to Life Plus. It's a really easy strategy, guys. Like Josh created it. You see Josh here in the chat. He created his Sunday fun day strategy, and I'll show you guys what he means by that. But it seems pretty solid. So we'll go over those two first. US 30 Sunday strategy. And then once I go over those two, so I have gold for Stevie, I have the US 30 strategy for Life Plus. It looks like David's here too. What's up, David? How's it going, bro? So that's pretty much what we have on the list right now. We got those two. And then after that, I think we're going to start with the chart analysis. And I have another question for you guys. So I'll probably put a poll in the group, because I feel like a lot of you guys don't even care about this chart analysis. There's only like a few people that really care about it. So if you guys really want me to analyze a specific pair, you know, I'm probably going to zoom through these when I do the chart analysis, because it seems like not everyone cares about all of these pairs, right? They only want certain pairs. So I'm going to go ahead and just zoom through all of these when I do go through the chart analysis. And if you guys want me to stop, just give me a specific pair that you guys want me to analyze like deeper and further. And then I can do that too. Because I realized that this this weekly chart analysis, usually we try to keep this pretty short and concise, but I end up being on this webinar for like 4 hours. So, you know, sometimes people don't really care about all the pairs. So if you guys want something specific, I can look at that. But when I go through the full list, I'm probably just gonna be really quick. So that's about it for that. Let me check who else just joined the group right now, the chat, and then I'll get started with these analyses over here. So hey, Charles, how's it going, bro? Happy Sunday, K2. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Likewise, bro. Hopefully you did too. I'm ready to make some money, man. You know, last week was kind of rocky, so I'm ready to bounce back. This week should be good. Oh, but you guys got to keep in mind that tomorrow's a holiday. I mean, it's a U.S. holiday for us here in the U.S. It's MLK Day tomorrow, so market's probably going to be kind of slow today and tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we have Biden's inauguration. So that's going to be crazy, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But hopefully it'll be overall a good week. You know, we'll just wait and see how everything plays out. See what else we got here. Flynn said US 30 Sunday special, Sunday service special strategy. Can we look at GU? Yeah, Flynn, we got GU for you as well. Let me add you to the list. Flynn, GBP USD. Nice. Morning, Indra. Cameron, how's it going, bro? How's it going, City? All right, cool. Yeah, David said London session, baby. Awesome. So first on the list is gold for Stevie. Let me pull up gold real quick. I'll analyze that for you. So it's doing kind of what I mentioned. It's doing exactly what I mentioned, right? I said it was going to go sideways from here. It's crazy because this played out exactly like I mentioned right here. I said it was going to go sideways. When I analyzed this on the 14th, I said it was going to go sideways and I said it was going to dump, right? Which it did exactly what I said. It went sideways and it dumped right there. And then right here, I marked up that I was going to swing up, right? And that looks like what's going to happen right here. Had a nice rejection, bullish candle, price swing up from that point. But let me go ahead and analyze it from scratch for you, Stevie. So I'm going to delete everything off the chart, but you guys saw that, right? This is exactly what I knocked up from yesterday. Like I pretty much drew this up from the 14th or maybe on the 13th. It was like Monday last week or Sunday. And it played out exactly like, you know, I thought it was going to play out. So this is going to show you guys that, you know, these structures are very, very important. If you guys have these structures here, you guys can see exactly where price is ranging, and then you can see exactly where price is going to reject from. So I'm gonna go ahead and analyze this from scratch so that you guys can see how I analyze pretty much every pair. And if you guys are familiar with how I analyze everything, I do everything the same way for every pair, guys. It doesn't matter if it's Forex, gold, indices, commodities, Bitcoin, futures, anything really. It works all around. So here's an empty chart right here. I'm going to turn on the K2SRs, zoom out from this point, and I'm going to draw my zones on the chart for you guys. So let me go ahead and draw this zone down here. Draw this zone right here. Let's see what else we got over here. A couple more zones right here. That one right there. Sometimes these zones are really small. I don't trade gold very often, so I'm not sure if these zones are like really spread out or not, but I'm just going to draw these like literally all the small zones so that you guys can have, you know, a bigger picture of like what to look out for. So it looks good from that point right there. I'm going to take that off. And then you can see that we have some nicely drawn zones on the chart for you guys. So basically right here, you can see that pretty much all the rejection points have been marked up. You guys can see here that these same zones that we drew today, they've been testing since September of last year, August of last year, July of last year. So they date pretty far back up until July of last year. So these zones right here are pretty strong. Price is currently re-entering this structure over here. So it's either going to break below or swing back up from this point. Once you have the zones drawn up like that, we can turn on the momentum indicator so we can determine where the bias is with regard to the direction of price. So currently right here, obviously we have a sell signal, right? So we have a sell signal. So our first scenario that can play out right here is price can possibly, it attempted to break the structure right here, right? But it failed to do so. So like what can happen here is price can either continue farther back down and then finally break below the structure, break and close below here. So if it breaks and closes below the structure, you can see that it broke here, but it didn't close below, right? It swung down, then it wicked all the way up. So our first scenario here is that price can break below the structure and close. And then if that happens, then we can see a nice little free fall from this point, right? You can enter a short position from there and pretty much just write it down for like 300 or 400 pips. You can see the last time that happened over here. You know, history just repeats itself, bro. It's the same exact thing. Check this out. So we have a sell signal right here, right? So we have a sell signal right here. We have a sell signal right here as well, right? where price currently is. We have that sell signal. And then what happened when price broke structure? Price broke structure right here. And then like I mentioned over here, we were waiting for price to break structure down here, right? Break and close down there. And when that happens, it ends up dumping pretty heavy right there. About 300 to 400 pips, same situation right here. It's the same setup, right? So that's basically scenario number one. If price can break below here and close, then you can take this sell right here. However, that's scenario number one. You got to remind yourself to analyze this from all perspectives. Like just because you think it's going to come down right here doesn't mean it's going to come down. You have to analyze it from both a buy and sell perspective, and then weigh your pros and cons to determine, you know, what's the probability of it dropping? What's the probability of shooting back up? Because in reality, anything could happen. You know, it's not going to happen until it happens. You can't really just like be set on this being a sell, and then price never breaks below here, because price can easily swing up at any point. So this is scenario number one. Obviously, we have a sell bias because we have a sell signal right here. However, we need price to break and close below this structure. If price doesn't break and close below this structure, then we're probably going to have an entry for a sell. Anyways, that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is price can reject off this point, possibly provide a buy signal somewhere over here, and then this can continue out further, and then we can take a buy position right there, right? So that's scenario number two. I'll show you an example of this happening over here. You can see the same exact setup, right? So I showed you scenario number one where it lined up with this setup right here. Scenario number two is right here. We have a sell signal right here, same situation right here, sell signal right there. And then we have price come down, test the structure, and reject off it, right? It tested the structure and it's rejecting off it. If we get a buy signal right here, similar to this, what I just mentioned right there, the long position right here and ride that up to full TP for about 300 to 400 pips. That's scenario number two. You guys can see here that they're both, it's pretty much 50-50 at this point, right? It can either break below and close, we can take that sell, or it can reject off that point and we could take the buy. You know, either way works. Like legitimately, like anything works. Like this scenario can happen where it breaks below, we can take the sell. This can happen right here where this sell signal is right there, same exact price point, right? Same exact price point. And then if it comes down, test this structure like it did right here, here's a test right here as well. Check that huge rejection right there, right? Rejection right there. We just don't have the buy signal yet. If we get that buy signal, then we can take the buy. So that's how I would analyze gold. There's two different scenarios. There's never just one. You have to make sure that you analyze this from both perspectives. It's like playing chess. You know, you have to understand what the other person's doing. And by the other person, I mean the institutions, right? Because the thing is, if you're trading like a retail trader, you're probably going to lose because the institutions are doing opposite. So if I go and I pull up the sentiment for gold, let's see. Make this over here. You got that gold sentiment right here. Let's see where all the retail traders are trading. Everyone's long right now, right? So many people are long. So what do you think is going to happen here? I think this is going to happen right here. I think price is going to break below and then it's going to dump. Because if 85% of people are long, like these are retail traders right here. If this many people are long, what do you think the institutions are going to do? You think they're just going to let price go up and let them have a free lunch? Like let them get some free money right there? Probably not. They're probably going to like spike price down like they did right here to stop everyone out, right? Because look, think of this, guys. Think of this. Like think about all the retail traders right now. They're all long right here because they're like, oh, cool, nice rejection off this point, right? They have their stop losses right here. The institutions aren't going to be like, all right, let's give them some more money. Let's let these retail traders make some money. That's not going to happen. They're probably going to spike price down, stop them out right here, and then swing it right back up. You guys have seen that happen. Hit your stop loss and it goes straight to your TP, right? Happens all the time. And that's what I mean about analyzing this from both perspectives. You know, don't analyze it from one perspective because a lot of things can happen. You know, they can even mess with you guys even more because there's so many people long here for gold. What they might do is they might whipsaw it. They might swing it down, swing it up. And then at this point, when they swing it up, people are going to re-enter their trades, right? They're going to get stopped out and they're going to be like, oh, it's bad luck. It's got to come up now. So they do the same thing. enter another long position. They do the same exact thing. They enter another long position. It swings up right here. They give them some profit right here. So they're like, oh yes, it's for sure going to come up, right? What happens? Swings back down, stops them out again, right? That happens all the time. If you guys have been trading long enough, this has happened to you. And it's because you guys haven't analyzed it from this perspective where you're thinking against a retail trader, right? It doesn't matter if you're a retail trader yourself, just don't trade like them, because if you trade like them, odds are you're probably gonna get stopped out. There's so many people long right here. They're not just gonna shoot price up and be like, oh, give these guys some free profit, right? It's not that easy. If it was that easy, everyone would be profitable at trading. So this could happen right here again. And then what happens on the third try? Everyone's like, oh, third try is how does that saying go? Third time's a charm, right? Like, oh yeah, it's gonna be my third try right here. They swing back up, they enter another long position. They probably shoot it up even farther right here to give some people some hope. And then they spike you back down, stop you out. And then on that fourth time, it goes straight up to full TP. Happens all the time, guys. It's not, it's nothing new, you know? Like if you guys just analyze it from both perspectives and just think about an institutional trader. Think about the banks. You know, are the banks going to want to push price up when there's so many retail traders up? Probably not, because they're not going to make money from these people. What they want to do is they want to stop you out. And then when they stop you out, they take over your positions, right? The banks and the institutions take over your positions because they stop you out, then they buy at a discount. So they stop you out, buy cheaper, spike it up, make some money, sell it back off, bring it back down, stop you out, buy again, make some more money, stop you guys out again. And they do the same thing over and over again because they have enough money to push price. Obviously, you know, retail traders it doesn't matter how many retail traders are buying or selling a specific asset. It's not going to be enough to compete with institutions, obviously. So just keep that in mind, guys. But this is pretty much my analysis for gold. I personally think it's going to come down. It might not come down all the way, but I think it's definitely going to come down. So I personally wouldn't even trade gold right now, because when the sentiment is this high, this is where a lot of manipulation happens, because they want to shake all these people out of the trade. But the problem is when they shake people out, like for example here, when they shake people out, it's just going to lure in more buyers, because when price comes down, they're just going to have more people enter more buys because they think that, you know, the price got manipulated, which it did. And then they're probably going to just keep fucking with people until, you know, they make their money, and then they'll finally swing it up once they've like shooken out enough people. I think once this drops lower, maybe to like 60% or close to like 60 to 70%, then I think they'll push the actual move. But until then, I don't think it's going to push up like right away. It's probably just going to consolidate. Actually, this might not even happen. What might happen here is price might just go sideways within this zone right here, and then it'll spike price around. So it'll go sideways. They'll spike it down a lot to pretty much kick out all these people from the trade, right? Because 85% of people are long. If your stop loss is below here, you're probably going to have, this is like 100 pip stop loss, 120 pip stop loss. If you have it down here, 150 pip stop loss. Like how many people have that big of a stop loss for gold, right? Who can survive this spike down? Most people can't. So they're going to stop people out, and then they're going to swing it back up, and then they're going to do it again, basically until sentiment drops. Until they stop out enough people, then they'll swing it all the way back up. But you guys have to keep in mind that, you know, there's a holiday tomorrow, so volatility is probably going to be low. And then we have President Biden's inauguration on Wednesday. So there's a lot of different things that are going to affect the market. Like, I don't know if the inauguration is going to either strengthen the US dollar or weaken it, but looking at the US dollar index over here, it's pretty strong, right? It's pretty strong. The index is going up. So if that goes up, then gold will probably continue down. Keep that in mind, guys, if you guys are looking at the dollar index. So that's pretty much my analysis for gold. I personally wouldn't even trade gold because, like I mentioned, there's too much room for manipulation right now. And if you guys don't think there's no manipulation in the market, what do you think of this spike right here? This spike wasn't a normal move where it drops like 230 pips and then spikes right back up, right? Even if I go on the shorter time frames, like the 30-minute, this spike right here happened within 30 minutes. So what causes price to spike like nearly 300 pips and then come right back up? It's market manipulation. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my analysis for gold right there. Let me see if there's anything else that we are missing before we continue on further. So hopefully that answers your question, Stevie. Let me see if there's anything else to cover before we move forward. So the next question is Life Plus wants me to go over the Josh's Sunday Fun Day strategy for US 30. And then we'll look at GU for Flynn. So let me see if there's anything else here before we start. Let's see. Nice. Oh yeah, Trell wants me to take a look at GA. So Trell wants me to take a look at GBP odd. Kasim said, looking forward to a great week. Yeah, same here, Kasim. You know, we need it this week. Flynn said I was going to buy for gold. That drop killed me. Yeah, I could see that too, Flynn. Skills Trade said I care about a general overview of all pairs, but not to the extent that I think you should spend your precious time doing my homework for me. So I'm good either way. Gotcha, Skills Trade. Hi, Hamizan. How's it going? You say good morning. Yeah, it's nighttime over here, but yeah, I could assume that your time zone's like way different compared to mine here in the US. Let's see if there's anything else. Hey, John, how's it going? Hopefully you had a good weekend. It's 11:27 on your time, Tommy's on. So you're definitely on the opposite end of the world. Kurt said, can you send a gold signal? Your gold calls look solid, bro. I just don't trade gold, Kurt. So that's why I don't call gold trades. You know, obviously if I was going to trade gold, the stop loss would just be too wide for a lot of people. That's why I wouldn't trade it, because generally, you know, if I enter a trade, I need to have the stop loss at the previous swing. So I'm probably not going to call any gold trades, Kurt, because I don't trade it. You know, I'm not going to give you guys trades for something that I don't even trade, right? If I don't feel that confident with my own gold trades, I'm not going to just give you guys signals just because you guys want signals. You guys can just learn the strategies and then just apply it, Kurt, because that's probably better for you, so that isn't putting responsibility on me for calling a trade that I'm not 100% about. I only call trades that I'm 100% about. And, you know, that's why our win rate here at K2 is so high, because I only call trades for stuff that I actually know how to trade. You know, you don't have to be a master at everything. You just have to be a master at things that you actually like trading and things that you're actually good at. Like for me, I trade all these Forex pairs and I trade US 30. Those are my main things I'm good at. So there's really no need for me to hop into gold. You know, if you want to trade gold, just learn strategy, because I know you've done well, Kurt. Like I've seen, you know, if anyone here has sit in on like me and Kurt's one-on-one sessions, Kurt's been killing it. He's been like, he just joined K2 like 3 days ago and he's had like nonstop wins. Let me see if I could find your profits over here, Kurt, if you don't mind me showing them. Let's see. Yeah, so Kurt over here joined K2 like a couple days ago, and he took all these trades on his own. Like literally, he has nonstop wins. He got like 47 bucks on that one, and then he closed out like 77 bucks. This dude literally just joined K2, learned the strategies in like one day, and then killed it. Like this is possible for anyone, right? But yeah, Kurt, you know, not that I don't want to call gold trades for you. I just don't trade gold, so I don't want to call any iffy trades, right? I only want to call trades that I'm 100% about. So sorry about that, but I think you're fine on your own. Kurt, you've been taking the trades pretty good on your own. So if you understand that strategy properly that we've been talking about, you should be good to go. Let's see if there's anything else here. Yeah, Cameron, the IG sentiment for gold is like crazy. It is, damn, 85%. It's a lot of people long on gold. So if that's the case, I'd probably just sell gold. Or, you know, I'd wait for it to close below here, and then I would take it, obviously, because I want that confirmation before I take that trade. Yeah, Charles said countries are stabilizing, vaccines are being taken. I see gold dumping. Definitely. I see that too. All right, let me see if there's anything else. Cameron wants me to take a look at GJ. So let me take a look at G. Looks like everyone wants the GBP pairs today. So let's see. Cameron wants me to take a look at Gbp Jpy. Hey, Billy, how's it going, bro? Let's see if there's anything else here. John's asking, Kurt, what strategy are you using? I think Kurt's been using the K2SR strategy. John, he's been using that, but he's like added his own little twist to it. So that's pretty much how he's been trading it. And just a reminder, thanks for reminding me, guys. So if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like the stream and subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'll definitely help, so I can continue to keep coming on here and giving you guys live free sessions every day. So let's go ahead and take a look at the new US 30 strategy that we were just talking about for for Life Plus over here. So Life Plus, looking at, let me just go to I'll go to a new chart over here so you guys can see exactly what I mean by that. So this is a strategy that I didn't even create. This is a strategy that Josh created. He basically made a spinoff of our daily entry for US 30. If you guys are familiar with the daily entry, we basically wait for the New York Stock Exchange to open, and then we take the first valid signal on open. So it's the same strategy, except, sorry guys, turn this off. It's the same strategy, but it's done on Sunday open. So Life Plus, this is it's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that you take it on the market open on Sunday. So for example here, let's go back to the 10th. All right, so the market opened on the 10th. That's Sunday. Right over, here we go, 10. All right, so the market opened right here. Obviously, you can see the market open because there's a huge gap, right? It went from the 8th to the 10th right here. The way that this strategy works is super simple. It's pretty much the daily entry, but so this is Josh's Sunday fun day US 30 strategy. For one, you just look for entries on market reopen for the week. It depends. I would put the time here, but the time really varies for you guys. You know, I think that would be 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is me and Josh's time, because me and Josh live in the same time zone. So this would be it right there. And then after that, and guys, just keep in mind that this isn't an official strategy yet, right? This is a strategy that we're still currently testing. So don't start applying this on your own unless you guys, understand the risk. So after that, you're going to identify the first valid K2 signal. And then what you're going to do is you're going to enter on the open of the following candle. And lastly, set stop loss TP at 1500 pips. So if you guys can see how the strategy works, it's exactly the same as my daily US 30 strategy. The only difference is that it's done on market open. So for example, here, the market, look for entries on market reopen for the week, which is 2 o'clock PM Pacific Standard Time. So like, for example, here, this is going to be market reopen right over here. There we go. So markets reopened right here. I guess it's 2:30 for our time. Let me just change that, I guess. I don't know how the time works for market reopen, because I normally don't trade market reopen, but since Josh came up with the strategy, it's been like super profitable. So for example, here, look for entries on market reopen. So the market's reopened right here. You can tell because it went from January 8th up until January 10th. So it skipped 2 days. Market reopened right here. Next, you're going to identify the first valid K2 signal. So for example, right here, this is the first valid signal, right? So after this happens right here, you enter on the open of the following candle. So for example, here, enter a short position, set it at 1500 pips, and then you let it run. And what do you know? Full TP. So straight winner right there, like little to no drawdown, straight to full TP. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's how easy the strategy is. You just wait for the market to open on Sunday. Because, I know there's a lot of you guys there who are just like waiting at your computer to enter trades. And I always tell you guys to like wait and don't take trades until the market isn't like fully open. But Josh came up with a strategy. Like, this is a strategy that was created by one of the K2 members. It wasn't even me. So this goes to show, guys, if you guys understand how everything works, you guys can create your own strategies with the K2 indicators. Like, Josh just randomly messaged me. He's like, hey bro, I found something crazy. And I was like, no, you didn't. And he was like, yeah, I did. And I was like, all right, well, show me what you did. And then he showed me his results and I was like, damn, that's crazy, dude. It really hits. So this was last week on the 10th. Obviously we're taking the same trade again right here. Market opened right here on the 17th. Let's see, market opened right here. Literally on the market open. So market opened right here. We had a buy signal and then we took the trade. So that's why we took this trade. We're currently in profit right now and we're just going to let it run. So going back to this right here, I mean, this is the first entry. I guess we can check out the previous one as well on the third. So we'll go back to the third over here. And I'm just joking, guys. Like, yeah, I wasn't telling Josh that his strategy didn't work. I was just I was just showing you guys that, like, you know, me and him kind of like joke around about this, but he really did find the strategy on his own without any of my help, you know, literally on his own. And here he is killing it. Okay, yes, first valid signal. Okay, so another one right here. Market reopened on the and you guys should still use the exit strategy. You know, it's not required, but you guys should still use the exit strategy, even though I even don't use it anymore because the win rate's so high that if I take a loss, I'm just gonna eat the loss. I don't care, because I know I'm gonna bounce back from that loss with the next win. So market reopened again right here on the third. Sorry, let me get that right here. There we go. So the market reopened right here. You know, I'm just going to change this to 2 because it's weird. This week it opened at 2:30, but last week it opened at 2. So this is 2 right here. I'll just leave it at 2. If the market isn't open by then, just wait for it to reopen. But yeah, for example, here we looked for entries after the market reopened, which is here on the 15th. I mean, 1500 hours, which is 2 p.m. my time. And then we look for the first valid signal. So right here, this is an invalid signal because it's a sell signal with a green bullish candle within it. And then from this point right here, sorry guys. Yeah, so right here, this is an invalid signal. So this doesn't count. We wait for the first valid signal, which would be right here. This is a valid signal because it's a buy signal with a green bullish candle in it. This is invalid. This is valid. This is valid. This is valid. So right here, we have a valid buy signal. We enter a long position right there. And then pretty much the same thing, guys, 1500 pips. And then generally our TP1 is like at 750 pips, which would be right here. I'm just going to add a line there so you guys can see where TP1 would be. Let me just change this up right here. There we go with that. Delete this right here. And I'll just set this up full. So I'm gonna let this run and see if it actually hits. I don't know if it hit TP1 and then pulled back, but basically let's see how this plays out. Okay, so right there it hit TP1. If you took this trade right here, you could have moved your stop loss to this point so that you guarantee 750 pips. But if it ends up, so this is what you do when you lock that in. So when you put your stop loss and profit over here, you can guarantee if price comes down, you guarantee 750 pips. Vice versa, if price hits up here, you guarantee profits, but you also get to hit for full TP. So at this point right here, you can like let it run and it hits full TP. See, we have 2 back-to-back wins on both Sundays right there for 1500 pips. And you guys can see like how easy this is applied, right? You just wait for the market to open and then you take that first valid signal and then you pretty much just let it run, or you move your stop loss and profit. It's really up to you how you want to manage your exit strategy. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So that's the strategy right there. It's super simple, like not really much that's been changed. You know, obviously I haven't made it an official strategy yet because I need to personally test it. You know, I don't want to just give you guys strategies and not actually test it. Like obviously Josh has tested it. Indra has tested it as well. Let me check over here real quick. Yeah, Indra's actually in this chat as well. So Indra, let me see what he found over here. So Indra had, sorry, Indra, I don't know if you're a boy or a girl, but Indra did the back test. Indra did 15 entries for 13 wins and 2 losses. So like right here, I'm just going to show you our message earlier. So Indra took a back test of 15 entries. So that's 15 Sundays and found 13 wins and 2 losses for an above 80% win rate. Like I'll take that win rate any day, guys. If that's the case, I'll take all of these US 30 trades. And I don't care if I lose 2 trades out of 15, you know, as long as I have more wins and losses and I let them run to full TP. So like, for example, there, look, Indra did the back test. Indra had 13 wins. So 13 times 1500, that's 19,500 pips, right? And then Indra had 2 losses. So I'll subtract 1500 from there. And then again, another 1500. So that'd be a net profit of 16,500 pips. If you're trading a mini lot, you would have locked in 16,500 right? And if you were taking a standard lot like on FTMO, you multiply that by another 10, that's 165,000 in profit from just taking those 13 or 15 trades. So this is something that I like, well, I'm willing to take, right? I'll eat those 2 losses if it just keeps hitting TP like that, because it's going to balance out. Like if I have 1 loss, then that's cool, because the next week I'll probably have a win, and then it'll just bounce me back from that point. And if the win rate's that accurate, then I don't see any reason for us not to take this trade. So I might start calling it as an official trade. I just don't know yet, because you know, I just want to be 100% about the I want to be 100% about the strategy first before I actually, you know, give it to you guys. But you guys can see there that those are some amazing results that can be, you know, pretty much produced just using this one strategy once a week on Sunday. So just keep that in mind. And this is something I'm definitely going to plan on taking, you know, every week. And then maybe next week we'll start calling it as an official entry. The only problem is that I'm not on my computer all the time, like on Sundays, because I trade every day and I have live sessions with you guys every day. And I'm always answering questions. So like literally Saturday and Sunday are my only days where I'm not, you know, doing stuff like regarding to trading. So I like to have at least a day off. So on Sundays, I might not be calling this trade, but if you guys want to apply it, it's super simple. And you guys can just apply it yourself. Because, you know, I need a break too, guys. Like everyone like expects me to trade 24/7, which I do. I trade 24/7, you know, during the week, basically Monday through Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday is like my only days off. So I don't know if I'll be calling the trade, but I'll try to, if you know, if that becomes the norm. But yeah, I think that's it for there. Let me check the chat real quick. And I'll see if there's anything else to look at before we move forward. So let me see the chat real quick and see if there's anything else here. Josh, oh yeah, and Josh said also going to take the first valid signal for silver as well. So that's another thing that I need to look at. I just need to figure out, because I don't trade silver, so I don't know what the parameters are for that. But Josh, I don't know. Do you know what the stop loss is for silver? Maybe I could just look at it if it's something that you know, because I've never traded silver, or I think I've traded silver on accident before, because I typed this in and I thought I was typing in gold, but I actually typed in XAZ instead of XAU. And then I ended up making some profit on that because they move similar to each other. But I don't trade silver, so I'm not sure what the stop loss TP should be like. And that's something that I would have to work on before I actually, you know, before I actually give that out as a trade. Let me check real quick. The 10th. Okay, so let me go back to the 10th over here. So looking at the 10th over here, okay, so the market reopened right here. And then obviously, you know, this would be the first valid signal. So market open right there, first valid signal right there, enter a short position right there, and then let it run to a full TP. So yeah, it works for silver too. So this is another strategy figured out by Josh. This wasn't even by me. It's just one of the K2 members here. You know, Josh is a longtime member. So if you guys are familiar with Josh, he's been with K2 for like, what is like over a year now, bro? You've been here since like before K2 was even a company. So, you know, if you guys have been with K2 for a long time, you guys have seen how K2 has evolved over time. And, you know, if you're with K2 long enough, you'll start to be able to create your own strategies using the K2 indicators. So another trade right here for silver. Obviously the market reopened right here on the 3rd. First signal right there. Zoom out from this point, enter a long position right there. Let it run. And boom, full TP. So this is a great strategy as well, Josh. You know, props to you for sharing this with us. You could have just kept this to yourself and be like, screw everybody, I'm just going to make money on my own, right? But, you know, that's what K2 is, guys. So if you guys are new to K2, if you guys have been with K2, you know, K2, like we're literally like a trading family here, guys. Like if we find a strategy, we're going to share it with everybody. We're not going to just hold it to ourselves and just make money, not share with everybody. You know, we're going to share this with everybody and we're all going to make money together. So here's another one here for gold, for silver, which works very well as well. So thanks for introducing this, Josh. But I just got to figure out, you know, what TP stop loss should be before I call these trades right here as well. Man, I might have to make Sunday an actual working day for me. We'll have to start trading, because this is a lot of potential here. You know, if we hit TPs for this, TPs for US 30, it's going to be it's gonna be pretty nice. Like, because we're gonna get to start off the week in profit, right? If we take these first trades on Sunday, and then it hits TP, we'll pretty much be good for the beginning of the week. The problem with US 30 right now, guys, is that it's a US holiday tomorrow, so that's why volatility is super low. And I think the market's actually going to close tomorrow for the US. So it's going to be hard for us to take trades, but if we do find stuff, we'll definitely be calling them. So that's it for that. Let me go ahead and take a look at the chat, see if there's any other questions before we continue on. So that's it for US 30. We have one question for Flynn. We're going to take a look at GU. For Trell, we're going to look at GA. And for Cameron, we're going to look at GJ. So let me see if there's anything else before we continue on with this. Let's see. Skilltrade said, seems like the K2 pivot strategy is less popular than I would have guessed. Exactly, Skilltrade. I mean, it still works really well. It works really well, but I think as people start to figure out these new strategies, like Josh's Sunday Funday strategy right here, that, you know, obviously people are gonna gravitate towards something like this that's even easier. Because even though the pivot strategy is super simple, like for example here, if you were to take this pivot entry here, full TP, pivot entry right here, full TP. So this pivot entry actually lines up with that Sunday Funday strategy. So Skilltrade, it works perfectly fine. It's just, you know, it's a different entry point. So that's another strategy right there that Skilltrade likes. It's a good strategy to apply as well. See if there's anything else that we can look at before we continue on further. All right, cool. So Kurt said, yeah, guys, K2 is king. Just have patience, everybody. Take less trades, but better trades. Don't just take a trade to take it. Listen to K2 a lot. Forget all the crap you learned before him. Exactly, Kurt. And Josh said, always use the exit strategy. So keep that in mind, guys. If you guys don't use the exit strategy, you guys have to accept the risk that that trade can easily reverse at any point. So just make sure to always, you know, keep an eye on your trades and apply the exit strategy if possible. See if there's anything else here. Billy said, you see GJ 4-hour broke zone with a sell signal. I'll take a look at that shortly, Billy, because I have a GJ on the list for Cameron. So I'll add you to that as well. So Cameron and Billy, GJ. Let me see if there's anything else here before we continue on further. Flynn said, if that's the case, don't even bother moving stop loss. Just hold to TP or stop loss. Yeah, I agree as well. Let me see if there's anything else before we continue on further with the questions over here. Indra said 13 wins, 2 losses at full TP. Amazing, Shawn, Josh, definitely. And thanks for doing that, Indra, for doing that backtest. Because, you know, since multiple people have been backtesting the strategy, we're able to get a better sample because everyone's getting the same results. So if everyone's getting the same, you know, great results for US 30, then it just goes to show that this strategy actually works very, very well and very consistently. Let me see if there's anything else here. I'm going to skip the questions if you guys are having side combos here because I'm just going to continue on further with what we're going through here. Josh said, K2 has been great to me. Family, I wouldn't hold this a secret. Exactly, definitely, Josh. Peter said, K2 and the K2 family are fire. Definitely, definitely. Indra said, purposely woke up in the morning to take US 30 trade since the strategy is only once a week. Yeah, me too. I definitely would, you know, set some time aside just to take that specific entry. Live Plus said, Josh, do you paint SR zones? All right, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna let you guys have your side convo there. I'm gonna start going down the list for Flynn. So Flynn wants me to take a look at GU. So I'm gonna pull up GU real quick. Let's see, GU right here. I'm gonna take everything off the chart so you guys can see me analyze this from scratch. Zoom out from this point, empty chart, turn the K2 SRs. And then I will draw my zones over this. So guys, I think what I'm going to do now for the weekly chart analysis is instead of me just drawing the zones and giving you guys like the zone price points, I'm going to actually analyze the every pair and just kind of see where things might be going for the week. So I think that'll help you guys better, so you guys have a better overview of how price is moving and stuff like that, rather than me just going around drawing these zones and then giving you guys, you know, just the price points. Because even though I give you guys these price points, it doesn't mean that you guys will know how to actually analyze them. So here are the zones right here for GU. You guys can see that this price is currently right here. And the last time it's been that price point has been in 2018. So price is currently within this upper zone right here, or this third zone. And you guys can see that the last time that it was tested, you guys can see how strong these zones are, because I drew these zones just now. But you can see that the same exact price points were tested back in April of 2018. So April in 2018, May of 2018, that's where price currently is right now. So you can see the last time price broke below the structure, it came all the way down, right? So keep that in mind when we analyze GU right now. So looking at this right here, history is just pretty much repeating itself. I'm going to turn on the momentum indicator so that we can identify the bias. So right here we have a sell bias, right? The reason for that is because we have a rejection from this point. We have a sell signal from this point, indicating that momentum is swinging downwards. And then you see price coming down to test the structure, right? If price comes down and closes below the structure right here, then what do you think we're going to do from that point? We're going to enter a short position and then write it to the structure down here, right? And you guys can see the last time that this happened, it actually happened pretty recent. It happened right here. Oh shit, my bad. Yeah, so it happened right here on the 8th of last week. So same situation, guys. Like we have the rejection from right here. Same rejection, right? Rejection, rejection, sell signal. And then what happens? It comes from this point, consolidates a bit before it comes down to here, breaks structure. And then once it breaks structure, it tests this structure down here before rejecting back up, right? Same situation here. We have the rejection, sell signal. We want price to break below the structure like it did right here, so that if that happens and it closes below here, we can enter a short position and then write it down to this next structure down here. So that's pretty much what we're waiting for right here for GU. I think it has a sell bias. You know, for one, we have a rejection off that point, sell signal, and then it's pretty much just going to repeat what happened over here. One key thing is that you guys have to wait for price to close below the structure, because if you enter it right away, like if you want to enter it right here, this can easily, let me show you right here. So if you guys enter too early right here before it breaks structure, it can easily reject off it. And you guys can see that it's happened here before in the past. So it actually happened, I think last week right here, price rejected off this point, and then you probably would have gotten stopped out, right? That's why it's really key that you guys wait for it to break structure. Because like again, right here, we have another rejection from this point, but it didn't close below structure, and then it swung right back up. If you guys were in that trade, you might have gone stopped out. That's why it's very important that you guys wait for price to actually break below structure and close below there, so that you can catch that momentum swing downwards. Because you guys can see here that it's rejected off this point 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and what happens? It would have stopped you out again possibly, and then again right here. So if you waited for it to close below there, you can go ahead and lock in some profit right here, from here down to the structure for about 50 pips, 53 pips, 55 pips, something like that. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I see happening here. Another confirmation for me to catch this trade right here is that the dollar index is bullish, right? So the dollar index is bullish right here. It's indicating that we have a strong US dollar right now. So this is going to indicate that this is probably going to continue dropping. You know, another confirmation for that is we look at the British index right here, the British pound index, and it's actually heading down, right? So if it's heading down, that's going to mean that the British pound is weak. And if you look at GU here, whenever price is coming down, that means that the second currency is stronger than the first currency. And just looking at the dollar index here, the dollar index is bullish. So it indicates that the US dollar is strong and the British pound index is weak. It's coming down. So that's going to give you more confirmation that this is going to come down from this point. And then once it comes down from that point, you can enter a sell position right here and then ride that to full TP. So keep that in mind right there. Other than that, I think that's it for GU. So let's move on to the next one over here. So that's it for GU right there, Flynn. Hopefully that helps. Definitely have a bearish bias for that. Trell wants me to take a look at GA. So let me pull a GA over here. All right, looking at GA over here, I'm gonna turn off the momentum indicator, delete everything off the chart. And we've got a empty chart right here. So at this point over here, we have the K2SRs that are turned on. I'm gonna draw these zones from this point. Let me see how far these zones are from each other. There's a lot of space. So So what I'm going to do here is I'm probably going to connect this right here to that one. Connect this one to that one. So when I draw these zones, guys, if there's a lot of space in between each zone, like for example, right here, we have about a 30 pip gap. That's enough for you to scalp like a small move within there. So that's why I created separate zones for that one specifically. These zones are too close, so I'm just gonna create one big zone for those. One zone right there. One zone right here. And then one zone right here. So that's it for GA right here. Have everything marked up. You guys can see we have the nicely marked zones right there all the way since December of last year. Let's turn on the momentum indicator to identify the bias here. We have a bullish bias because we have a bullish signal right here. And you can see that the bullish move actually stopped from like it started from way down here. So we had a rejection from this point. It broke structure. So you guys can see right here, it came up, broke structure right here, conducted a break and retest. So price broke structure, retested, it broke structure again right here. And then what happens when this happens, guys, right? When price breaks structure, we have a bullish momentum. We enter a long position to the next structure right here. Same situation, same strategy every single time, right? We just take that buy position, ride that momentum all the way to full TP right here for about 130 pips, 129.4 to be exact, but you guys get the gist of it. So for example, here we have another pullback as price rejects from this point, right? Price rejected from this point, came back down, rejected off this point. We have a buy signal. So this is kind of an iffy situation because like I mentioned earlier, the British pound is weak, right? So the British pound index is weak. However, the Aussie index is very, very weak. You can see how weak it is, right? It's coming down strong bearish candles. So the question is, what's stronger? Is the Aussie index stronger or the British pound index stronger? Obviously, the British pound index looks a lot stronger because it has an overall bullish momentum. And the current candle is actually bullish. It's coming down, but it's actually bullish. Looking at the Aussie index over here, it looks like it's starting to consolidate slightly, but man, if it breaks below the structure, it's probably gonna come down further. So it's very strong coming down. If it breaks below here, it's probably gonna drop way down there. So even though both of these currencies are weak, obviously if you're looking at GA, the pound is actually stronger. So if that's the case right here, we have a rejection, a buy signal. We want price to either close right here so you can take a long position, but I personally would want it to close above here. If it closes above here, then you have a way better chance for it to shoot up further to hit full TP right there for about 65 pips, right? Because the same situation happened over here. So price, we had the rejection from this point. We had a buy signal right here. It broke structure. Like I mentioned, if it breaks structure down here, you can possibly take it because it broke structure right there. You could have taken a long position and it would have hit full TP for about 160 pips. Again, right here, price broke structure again, right here. If you took that, it still would hit full TP again right there. So it doesn't matter if you take it right here, this would just be riskier. But if you wait up here, you get that full confirmation and you would have still hit full TP. So I have a bullish bias for this trail. I think you just have to wait for price to close above the structure. If it closes above the structure, you could take that long position right there. And you could actually hit it twice. So like for example here, you can enter a long position right there, hit that full TP right there, 30 pips. And then if it breaks above here again for another break and close above the structure, then you can enter another long position and then get that for a double, like basically a double whammy right there, right? You got a 30 pips right there, another 85 pips. That's like a gain of like 100 and something pips, right? My math sucks. I'm not going to just eyeball the number, but you guys get it. So that's pretty much what I see right there, Trell, happening for GA. So we'd have to pretty much just see how it plays out for the most part. Other than that, I mean, we'd just be waiting for price to break the structure so that we can take that right up from there. So that's pretty much what I see right there for GA. And that's about it. I'm gonna go on to GJ now for Cameron and Billy. So I'm gonna pull up GJ right here. Definitely. Good to hear, Trell. So Trell looks good. You know, if that ends up closing, then you can take that trade and we can make some profit off that. Probably gonna hop on that with you. So looking at GJ over here, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out from this point. Do the same thing I do for every single asset that I trade. It's the same strategy. So if you guys have access to the K2 indicators, you guys can see how easy it is for you guys to analyze these pairs and literally create a money printing machine for you. If you guys can do this consistently and properly every single time, there's really nothing to it. You know, as long as you have the system down, you can easily like analyze any pair that you want and find ways to make money doing it every single day. And it doesn't matter what you're trading, whether it's Forex, commodities, futures, gold, indices, crypto, it doesn't really matter. It works on pretty much anything. So looking at GJ right here, we have a breaking structure right here. I'm gonna turn the momentum indicator to confirm the bias. We have a sell bias right here. Let me see if there's an upper, and we can use this for example up here. It's probably not an official zone, but I'm just gonna use that for an example so you guys can see, you know, my thought process in all of this. So we have a rejection off this point right here. We have a sell signal right here. You know, I was thinking about calling this trade right here, but I was just being careful because of the new week. So we had a breaking structure right there. We probably anticipate this to push down further to test this structure down here, right? So if you were to take this trade right here, Billy, I'm pretty sure this is what you saw because you identified the breaking structure right there, right? Price broke and closed below that structure. You could have taken a short position right here and could have wrote it down to this structure for like about a 50 pip profit. And it looks like a perfect trade to me. I just didn't call it because, you know, I didn't want to enter trades too early. I usually like to wait until the next 4-hour candle close, which is about 10 p.m. So in about an hour 50, before I call any new trades. But just looking at this right here for GJ, it looks like it's going to come down. It's currently in profit right now, about 10 pips, not a huge profit just yet, but I do see it coming down. You know, going back to the indexes that I added over here, obviously the British pound is like super weak right now. And then looking at the Japanese index, it's super weak as well. So this is why I decided not to take GJ because that's the main reason. So I was looking at GJ earlier and it looked like a great trade, but I was looking at the indexes and it looked like the British pound is pushing up because it was like a small green candle, but you know, it's obviously still weak. And then looking at the Japanese index, it's super weak as well, but it's also pushing up too. So that's why I decided not to take it. But I mean, overall, it looks like a good trade if you were taking it. Yeah, Billy said I'm already in at one lot up 160. As you know, I'm being very careful. Yeah, no, definitely, bro. You gotta just make sure to. I would move your stop loss and profit if you know you want to be really careful. I think it's gonna come down further, but the last thing you want to do is get caught in any like fake outs or anything like that. Because this does look like a good trade, you know. And you can, if you wanted to do that, you can look at what I started to do, guys. Is I created a Confluence list for GJ because I was trying to. I really like GJ and I was trying to make it one of the pairs that I really master. So I made a Confluence chart right here. So these are all the pairs that are that move in the same direction as GJ. So if you're ending a sell right here, look at Gbp SGD, it's dropping down as well. NK is dropping down super heavy. SCJPY is dropping down super heavy. NGJPY super heavy. Honestly, I don't know what this is. I just added it on my list because I saw it on the Confluence right here. So this is dropping super heavy as well. USC knock right here is going up. So it's kind of opposite. You know, I like to have them all moving the same direction. If they're all moving short, then I'd be like taking this and like with no questions asked. But that's the reason why I didn't take it, because not all of them are like super strong. Like NJ over here is pushing down heavy. SJ is pushing down heavy. NJ is pushing down heavy. I think this is oil. I don't know what it is, guys. West Texas crude light. I just saw it on the correlation list. I don't ever trade this. I don't even know what this is, but yeah, it was on the correlation list. So that's why I added it on here. And that's why I didn't like take this trade right away. Cause even though JPY looks nice, GU looks nice as well. I would want to be 100% about a trade before I enter it. Right. So I'm not 100% about GJ. That's why I didn't take it, but it does look good. So Billy, if you're in this trade, I mean, well, you are in the trade. Looks like you could be good. Let's see. I had 2 lots, close one, ready to secure. Okay, so you're good then. So you locked in profits. You're pretty much cool for this at this point. So you have one more lot that's pending, or I mean that's active for GJ. So I think overall it should be good, and I definitely see it dropping a little bit further. So that's it for GJ right there. And I think that's it for the questions. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise I'm going to go down the watch list and see if there's anything else to look out for here. So I'm going to go ahead and redraw these, or let me just see if the zones are the same. I noticed that I've been wasting a lot of time redrawing these zones when they're pretty much the same from last week. So if that's the case, I'm just going to leave the zones there. Otherwise, I will redraw them. So right here, you can see that these zones are pretty much the same. There's just like a few of these that have changed a little bit, like this right there. And I'm not going to give you guys the price points anymore for the zones because it looks like nobody even really uses them. I mean, the few people that do use them, they have the indicator themselves, so they don't really need my price points. But I'm just going to give you guys like my analysis of where I think things are going to go, because I think that'll help a lot more rather than me drawing these zones and giving guys price points that don't really matter, right? So I'm going to turn on the momentum indicator. Looking at this, we have a sell momentum right here. I'll just try these over here. We have a rejection from this point. We got a sell signal down here, some retracement right there, and then price is coming back down. So I think this overall is going to swing back down right here. I'm just going to wait for it to close below the structure. Then I think it's going to come down further to test this structure down here. Looking at the Aussie index, like I mentioned, it's red right now, so it's weak. So I think that this will be coming down, within this week or so. So that's what I'm looking at right there. Odd CHF over here. Let me see if there's any new zones. So everything looks good for the most part. The only difference is this upper zone right here. So I'm going to see if we have an upper zone on the higher time frame. Nothing on the 8-hour. Nothing on the daily. And then we got the weekly right here. So it looks like it's pretty much the same. I'm just going to put that zone back up that I deleted. There's no need for us to delete it if the zone is in the same place. So looking at odd CHF over here, turn on the momentum indicator. Draw this right here. We have the rejection from this point. We have a sell signal right here. And on top of that, it broke and closed below the structure. So I think this is going to come down further and test this structure down here. So it lines up with our odd CAD analysis. I think they're both going to come down. They both look good. And we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Looking at odd JPY right here, this is the same thing that I was looking at earlier. Let me see if we could find any new zones here before I analyze it. So let me just delete this one up here. It's not really relevant at this point. Everything else here looks pretty decent. We have another zone right there. So that's why I didn't take this trade, because it was right out of zone. What I would want to happen right here is if I turn on the momentum indicator, you guys can see that we have a rejection off this point up here. Looks like it's a double top because these points reject off that point. We have a sell signal right here. We have price break structure right here. And then when price broke structure, what did it do? It tested this structure, broke through it, and then tested this structure right here. So next up, we want price to break this structure down here and close below here. Then we can take a short position and pretty much ride this down from that point right there for a gain of like 80 pips. So that's what I see happening right here for odd JPY. And that's, that's pretty much it. Everything looks like it lines up pretty well. It looks like the AUD pairs are going to be pretty bearish this week. Odd CAD's bearish. Odd CHF is bearish. Odd JPY is also bearish. I'm thinking about taking a speculative trade right now because all these look pretty nice for some sells. Even odd USD, it looks like the US dollar is like pretty, let me see, pretty bullish and pretty bearish. So I think what I'm going to do right here, guys, is don't do this, but I'm going to do it. All right, so I enter this trade right here, guys. I don't recommend you guys do this. The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm so confident that it's going to come down. but I don't recommend anyone just enter a trade like that, right? The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm pretty confident it's going to come down. And, I'm just going to pretty much just let it ride down for the most part. There you go. So I took a sell for AUD/USD. I know there's no valid entry here. I know there's nothing for us to really identify here as a valid K2 entry, but for my own analysis, I just think it's going to come down. So I'm taking this as a speculative trade. I'm probably just going to hold on to it. I'm probably not even going to exit at this point, because if price breaks below the structure down here, then what do you think is going to happen? Price is probably going to come down even further. But it is a risky trade to take because tomorrow's MLK Day. It's a U.S. holiday, so the markets are going to be closed. And then we have Biden's inauguration on Wednesday. So we can see some crazy movements in the market. And that's why I don't recommend taking this trade. It's probably a stupid idea on my end. But like I mentioned, this is my, this is obviously a real account right here. Forex.com, my name right there. I'm in some drawdown because of EA. And this will probably hopefully anchor me over to some profit. But yeah, I take random trades on this account because this account is like my risky account. I pretty much just take speculative trades on this account, and I take all of the signals on this account as well. So I'm taking this, on my own risk right here, but I definitely do think it's going to come down from this point. I just don't recommend you guys just enter a trade like I did right there. We'll see how it plays out, and I'll keep you guys updated on how it plays out as well. But I think this is going to come down further. I just want to wait for this to break structure down here, and then that will confirm that we're probably going to have a full bearish move from this point. Reason for that is because the Aussie index is weak. It's coming down pretty heavy. And then the dollar index is actually pretty bullish right here. You can see it's been pushing up. So if you guys look at, basic fundamentals, if the dollar index is strong, the Aussie index is weak, what's going to happen with AUD/USD? It's probably going to keep coming down, because if the US dollar is stronger, it's going to come down. If the Aussie is weak, it's going to come down as well. The only reason this would head up is if the opposite was happening. If the US dollar was weak and the Aussie was strong, then you would see this come up. But it doesn't look like that from the indexes that we've just looked at. So that's pretty much it for AUD/USD right there. Let's see if there's anything else to look at as well. Let me just see if the zones are proper on here as well. So I think, yeah, everything looks good right here. So all the zones are pretty much proper, and that's pretty much it. Hey Matt, how's it going, bro? Happy Sunday to you as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat so I can take a look at any pair. Otherwise, I'm just going to go down each pair, and I'll give like a brief analysis of what I think is going to happen for that pair for this week. But other than that, I'm going to draw these zones, make sure everything is proper on here. Let me see if the zones are still the same from last week. So it looks like these zones are, for the most part, they're pretty much the same. The only difference is that this zone right here kind of extended up a bit. So let's move that up slightly. Let me just fix these. So these look a little different here. So I'll probably connect these two right here. And other than that, this isn't really a zone there, so it's not really important to put that there. But looking at this, I'm going to turn on the momentum indicator. And it looks like we have a rejection from this point up here. We have a sell signal, so our bias is a bearish bias. But the problem with this here is that there's so many zones here, right? Like even if you were to enter a sell position here, price can reject at this point, it can reject at this point, it can reject at this point or this point. So I personally wouldn't take this trade until it closes like way down here. And you guys just have to be patient with it. You guys can take a sell if you guys really want to, but I wouldn't take it just because like I mentioned, price can reject at this point, or this point, and you just really never know when price is going to reject, right? And then if you guys end up taking a position at a wrong time, you guys can get burned pretty badly. So I wouldn't take this trade just yet. I would want it to close way down here before I take a sell position, so that I can pretty much ride it to the next structure down here. So I want price to close below here, but like I mentioned, this is a pretty far drop down. It's like 50 pips until it reaches that point. But anyways, most people don't like trading CHF anyways because it moves kind of slow. So I personally would be careful with this. I wouldn't even trade CAD CHF. I would just wait for it to close below here, and that might happen next week. So if it closes below here next week, then we could possibly have some entries prepped for next week, right? Because you guys can see here that the last time price broke structure, so there's a rejection point right here, sell signal right there, price broke structure, just like I lined up right here, right? Same exact price point. Once it breaks structure right there, what happened at this point? Came down, tested this structure down here. Your patience would have paid off. You would have locked in like 50 pips right there. So same situation again. Price breaks below the structure. I anticipate it to drop again. So that's pretty much what I'd be waiting for Cad CHF here. I'll move on to the next one. Cad Jpy. Cad Jpy is moving the same as all the other JPY pairs. They look pretty bearish to me. So I'm going to go ahead and see if the zones are on proper. Yeah, everything looks pretty much fine. It looks like nothing's really changed since last week. Since it's barely moved, it just pulled back into the same zones that it was lined up from the week before. So looking at this, I'm going to turn the momentum indicator. Same situation again, guys. We have a rejection from this point. We have a sell signal right here. We have price breaking structure down here. But like I mentioned, I want price to close below here in order for me to take that short position right there, right? So you take that right there and you can write this down. You can see the last time this happened again right here. We had a rejection from this point. We had a sell signal. Price broke structure right here. Same thing right here, right? If price breaks structure, odds are it's going to come down and test this structure down here. Similar to what happened here. Price broke structure, rejection, sell signal, broke structure, came all the way down to here for a gain of about 80 pips. See, not bad at all. So like, for example, here, same situation. We'd want price to break below the structure and close, and then we can catch that for about a 50 pip profit, or we can write it down all the way over here for an 80 pip profit. So that's what I'd be waiting for that one. And that's pretty much it for Cad Jpy. Let's move on to the next one over here. Chf Jpy. Yeah, nice. Looks like price is actually breaking structure right here. So let me see if the zones are on proper. The only problem is it's going to hit another zone right here. So let me take this off. Looks good for the most part. This right here might be deleted. It's right there. All right, so it looks good right there. Those zones look proper. These, we don't have a zone here, but I'm just going to leave that there because I think it's on the higher time frame. Let me go on the 8 hour. Oh man, it looks messy. See, this is what I mean about the CHF pairs, guys. It's a messy asset to trade because there's a lot of weird zones there. So like, for example, here, I mean, I think it'll come down eventually, but I'd have to redraw the zones down here to be exact. The only problem with that is that the zones are super overlapped on the 8 hour. So we go down here and there's a ton of zones. So this might be an issue if we are, yeah, because this zone is going to overlap with this one down here. And that's going to be an issue because it's just going to be one huge big zone. So just looking at this here, I'm just going to have this marked up, but it's going to be the same analysis for the other JPY pairs. They're all kind of bearish. So what I see happening right here is we see a rejection from this point. We have a sell signal right here, and then price is broken structure right here. So if it closes below there, we'd want it to push down a little further down here so that we could possibly take this this short position to this next structure down there. So the same situation happened here. So if I zoom out from this point, you guys can see that the same thing happened over here, where price broke structure down here, and it lines up perfectly with this one, right? So this structure right there, same situation right here. Whenever time broke this structure, it came down and dropped pretty heavy. Dropped right there, dropped even heavier right there. So once it reaches this point, it might drop heavy again right here as well, right? So that's kind of what I see happening right there for CHF JPY. But you know, like Josh mentioned right here, he said I won't touch CHF pairs at all, and I agree with Josh. You know, CHF pairs are they're just a bit risky. They're kind of all over the place. But if you catch a good one, then it could be good. So I mean, these are messy pairs, guys. You guys can see how the zones are crazy for here, as they were for all the other CHF pairs. Like odd CHF was messy. CHF JPY is messy. Cad CHF is messy as well. So I would be careful if you guys are deciding to take this trade. But if it does drop below here, you can probably catch this for a nice move right here for about 60 pips. But I wouldn't consider this a safe trade. It's still a risky pair, and it could, you know, could easily reject at any point. So just keep that in mind. And on top of that, the CHF and JPY are both safe haven currencies. So if there's like craziness going on in the world, like say when Biden gets inaugurated on Wednesday, right? The market starts to go crazy, then we'll probably see this just go sideways. It probably won't even move like that. So I would just keep mine and be careful if you're trading any of these CHF pairs. So that's pretty much it for that one. Euro odd right here. Looks like it's like in some drawdown. I'm just like in some not super heavy drawdown, but yeah, it's about $100, which is normal. I mean, you know, you have to eat these drawdowns sometimes as you wait for it to reject off this point. So I think for this point right here, if it closes above the structure, then I'm going to kind of be worried about this trade. But if it doesn't, and then it ends up rejecting off this point, I think it'll be completely fine. It's just, you know, the market isn't fully open yet. And then tomorrow we have a US holiday. So a lot of the markets are going to be moving really slow overall with, you know, low volatility in the market. So for EA over here, let me see if I can see if there's any new zones. No new zones from last week. Just this one right here that I'm not sure where this came from. I'm going the 8 hour. No zone there on the 8 hour. No zone there on the daily. Okay, so the zone came from the weekly. So this zone right here is actually a very, very strong zone. So this zone on the 4 hour, this is actually a weekly zone right here. So that's why I'm not too worried about this point, because price is probably going to reject off this point. If it's a weekly zone, it's a very strong zone. So I wouldn't be too worried about this yet. If you guys are still in the trade, I'm still in it. So I'm eating this drawdown right now until it possibly swings down. You know, this was my bad because we actually hit profit down here for 50 pips. We hit TP2 way down here. I could have easily exited at this point, but for whatever reason, I didn't move my stop loss and profit. So I'm still in the trade. And it's risky when you hold trades into the weekend because some BS like this can happen where it reverses on you. So just keep that in mind. But I think it's going to swing back down. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Looking at Eurocad over here, let's see if there's any new zones on this point. Turn this off, turn this on. Everything looks pretty decent right here. Same zone, same everything. I'm going to go back and take this off right here. And then I will analyze this from this point. So looking at this over here, we have a bullish bias. But if all the Euro pairs are weak, because I think the Euro index is weak, right? Super weak right here. So it's super weak, just pushing up slightly. I think for this right here, for Eurocad, this might reject off this point and then come back down. So what I would be waiting for is for a rejection off this point or something like that, and then a sell signal down here. And then I would anticipate it to drop further down. So if you look back to here, same situation that happened over here. So we had this, see this bullish candle, and there's a bullish candle right here, right? Came up, rejected off this point, and then it ended up coming down from there. It's kind of what I see happening right here. Rejection off this point, possible sell signal, and then it comes down further. And reason for that is because the Euro index is kind of weak right now. So I could probably see this coming down even further. I mean, overall, it's in a bullish, I mean, a bearish downtrend, because obviously it's still pushing down. It hasn't reversed just yet. It's still coming down. It's just having some retracement, right? So if I turn all this stuff off, you guys can see here that price has been coming down. Retraced off this point, then I see coming back down from there as well. So this is pretty much what I see happening right here for Eurocad. And I think that's pretty much it for this. So let's move on to the next one. Euro CHF. Let's see if the zones have changed from last week. Zones look pretty much the same from last week. So looks good from there. Turn off the indicator, turn on the momentum indicator. And then again, this is another CHF pair, guys. So it's a bit of a risky pair because it just moves very unusually. So right here, we have price establishing lower lows, rejection from this point, sell signal right here. You can see price is attempting to break this structure, right? It's failed to break the structure right here. So we would want price to close below this structure right here so that we can ride this for a sell down here. It's a small move, but it's still profit if you decide to scalp something like this. And the same situation happened over here. Price broke structure, and then it came down to test this structure, right? So same situation here. If price breaks the structure right here, odds are it's going to come down and test this structure down here. So you can see price came down, consolidated slightly, and then it came all the way down from there. So same situation here. Price came down, rejection, consolidation, then possible drop. So that's what I see happening here for Euro CHF. And that's about it for that pair. Let's move on to the next one. Euro GBP. Looking at this over here, we have this pair trying to break structure. It never broke structure right here. It attempted to, but it hasn't. Let me see if the zones are the same from last week. Yeah, they look good right there. Turn that off. Zoom out from this point. So yeah, looking at this right here, this is I think the pound is weak as well, right? So the pound is weak. Yeah, the pound is really weak. So what I see happening, sorry, let me go back over here. Oh, nice. So my AU right here, when I said it was going to drop, I'm currently in profit already. So you guys can see that trade that I took live with you guys. I'm currently in profit, and I think it's going to drop down further. But going back to what I was just analyzing, EG, the reason why I think this is going to come up is because the pound is weak. And although the euro is weak as well, it's not as weak as the pound. So this is like slightly pushing up, but the pound is super weak right now. I think if it's going to come down further, then it'll continue to push this up from this point. So here's an example of what I'm looking at right here. We have a rejection from this point right here. We have a buy signal right here. And on top of that, it broke structure. So I think what's going to happen here is price will swing up from this point. And then this is going to be the crossroads, right? At this point, once price reaches this point, price can either push up from here, or we can reject off this point and then provide a sell signal at some point over here. And then if it closes below here, we could probably see this drop even further. So this is I mean, a lot of scenarios can play out for EG right here, because this is I mean, it's probably going to push up at this point, but once it reaches this point right here, this will either shoot up further because we have a bullish bias here, or if it rejects off it, we get a sell signal, kind of similar to what happened here. We had a like little swing up, sell signal, broke structure, and it came all the way down. So that's kind of what I see happening there as well. But I think for the time being, it'll probably push up and test this structure right here. So that's what I see happening for EG. Let's move on for the next one, Eurojpy. I think this is going to be bearish as well, guys. So like looking at the other Euro pairs that I was just looking at, AUDJPY, bearish, Cad Jpy, bearish, GJ, bearish, and I'm super bearish. So Billy, you might be making a lot of money off this right now, right? Because you have a standard lot. I think you might be in profit 100 something at this point. Yeah, it's down about 220 pips. You're probably in profit about 200 bucks at this point. So that's looking good. GJ is coming down. NJ is coming down as well. So I think for EJ over here, I think it's going to continue to come down further. So it's probably going to come down, test the structure. Once it tests the structure, price can either reject off this point, or it will continue down further. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. You know, other than that, I think that's done for EJ. Let's look at EN over here. See if the zones are cool. Zones are cool. Turn on the momentum indicator. That's already on. So right here, we have price rejecting off this point. The problem with this right here is we had the rejection off this point. We had the buy signal right here, and then it's reached the structure up here already, right? So at this point right here, price can either continue up further, or it can reject off this point and head down from here, right? There's two different scenarios that can play out here, either this or this. So I would have to wait for some sort of confirmation. Like right now we have a bullish bias. So if price was to break above here and close, then I would take a long position there. Vice versa, if price rejects off this point, and then we get a sell signal at some point down here. Let's say we get a rejection, we get a sell signal off this point. If that happens right there, then we can take a short position right here and ride that down to this structure over here, right? So looking at Euro NZD right here is two scenarios that can play out. I mean, currently we have a bullish bias because we have a current buy signal right here. But if price is to reject off this point and we get a sell signal, then we could possibly take a short position from there. But who knows, you know, we'll have to wait for that confirmation. Either price breaks above here, we take that buy, or price rejects off this point and we get a sell signal, then we take that sell. But until then, we're just going to sit tight and wait for that to play out. Looking at Euro and oh wow, look at Euro USD right here. So this is what we were looking at earlier, guys. It looks like it's going to continue dropping. Aussie USD is dropping pretty nice earlier. The trade that I took, it's going to correlate with Euro USD right here. I think if price closes below this structure right here, I'm definitely going to you know, call a sell signal. Let me see if there's any other zones around this point. Zones look good on the 4-hour. Okay, so this is kind of risky right here because we have this this zone right there. Other than that, it looks pretty solid. So looking at Euro USD right here, if price breaks below the structure down here, so price breaks below the structure and closes, then we can take a sell position right here and ride this down from that point. But until price closes below the structure, I'm not going to take this trade. So that's pretty much what I see happening here for Euro USD. The reason for that is because we have a rejection off this point, rejection off the structure. We got a sell signal right here, and then it came down to test this structure right here, right? It's tested this structure. If price breaks below here and closes, then we can take a sell position right here, pretty much ride this down to this structure over here for a gain of like about 154 pips. So that's basically what I see happening here for Euro USD. Let's see what we got next over here. GA. I already analyzed GA earlier, so if you guys want to see that analysis, just go ahead and rewind the replay. But you know, quick rewind to what I was just talking about. We want price to break this structure right here, and then we want to pretty much ride this up from that point. So we want price right here because we have a bullish bias, rejection, buy signal, breaking structure, and then pretty much ride this up to this next structure up here. Yeah, Skillstrate, I agree with you as well. So Skillstrate said EU looks delicious except for the holiday closure. So volatility is probably going to die down tonight because most of the US markets are going to be closed. Tomorrow's a federal holiday for NMLK Day. Everyone has a day off for the most part. So market's going to be slow. And that's just going to deter us from, you know, wanting to enter certain trades that could possibly play out very well. Like I took this trade here for Aussie USD. Only because we're in the Aussie session right now, so there's some volatility in the market. But you know, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out from now until tomorrow. So let's go back to GA over here. Looked at GA right here, have that marked up. We have a bullish bias right there. GCAD over here, we have a rejection from this point. We have a buy signal right here, and on top of that, we have a double bottom, right? Double bottom right here, price broke structure right here. But so here's a tricky part about this. The reason why I wouldn't have taken this trade is because the pound is weak, right? Look at the pound here. It's weak right now. Looking at the Canadian index down here, this is weak as well, but it's pushing up. So the reason for it pushing up right there is that it's going to possibly push this downward. So you can see how it's coming down right here, because the Canadian index is sort of strong. I mean, it's not strong, but it's stronger than the pound index. So it's pushing up right here. It's a nice bullish candle. It's pushing up pretty nice right here, right? versus the pound index over here, which is weaker. So I think, well, I don't know how long this will push up for, but overall it might swing back up and then continue up further. So if you want to take this trade, I mean, you still can just enter a buy stop right here and then possibly catch it as it swings back up. But I think it's a risky trade. I don't recommend taking it, but if you do want to take it, you know, those are your options. So for Eurocad right here, price can either break structure and continue up further, or price can swing back down in reverse. But then I still wouldn't take this trade until it closes below this structure, because there's not enough space between this structure and this structure right here. Or I mean, it's enough for a small scalp, but not enough for me to really want to take it. So that's GCAD, Gbp Chf over here. Let's see if there's anything else right here. So looking at Gbp Chf, this is another weird pair. It's paired with the CHF. All the CHF pairs are kind of unusual because it's a safe haven currency. So the zones look good. I'm gonna turn off the zones. Yeah, I mean, at this point right here, we have a rejection from this upper point right here. We have a sell signal right here. We have price break structure down here. So I probably see it coming down further and testing this structure down here. But like I mentioned, this could be a risky trade to take. I mean, for the most part, for one, it's a CHF pair. For two, let me check the index first. Let's see. The index is also weak. See how weak it is right here? So if this is weak, looking at this for GCHF right here, you know, these are both weak indexes. Like the CHF index is super weak, super bearish. But looking at the British pound index right here, it's bearish right now, but it might swing back up, right? So if that happens right there, then for GC over here, I think this is probably going to swing back up. I think this might end up eventually swinging back up from this point and then pushing up further. And that's only if this index recovers. You know, we don't really know what will happen from this point. So we'll have to wait and see how that confirms. But I personally wouldn't take Gbp Chf until we have a confirmation where it breaks above or if it breaks below, because this is it's a risky pair to take right now. So that's it for Gbp Chf. And, you know, just like I mentioned earlier, guys, like some pairs you got to be a little more careful with. Like the CHF pairs, definitely be a lot more careful versus, you know, the major pairs and the other minor pairs that you trade. Let's see if there's anything else here. Let me see. August said, Shawn, for GA, the signal within the zone for a buy was valid. Was it valid? Also breaking bottom of the zone to go to at least top of the zone. Thanks. I guess let me pull up GA real quick again. So I just looked at GC right here. Go back to GA over here. So see, August question said, Shawn, for GA, with the signal within the zone for a buy, was it valid? Also breaking bottom of the zone to go at least to the top of the zone. So for GA right here, Aga, we had the rejection from this point, and then we had a buy signal right here, right? You could have technically entered this right here if there's no upper zones. Let me see if there's any zones within here. So I wouldn't have taken this trade because there's a zone right here, right? You can see price came up and then rejected off the zone before pushing up and rejecting again. So I wouldn't have taken it within a zone. I would wait for it to break above the zone right here, right? So that's what we're waiting for right here. We're waiting for price to break above the zone and close, and then you can take that buy signal. There's no entry right here. I mean, you could have taken this if you wanted to, but this doesn't qualify as an entry using the strategy. You would have to wait for it to break structure. So for example, here, price rejected off this point, we had a buy signal, then you could have taken a long position here. Or price closed below the structure again, then it broke above right here. That would qualify as another entry, right? You can't enter it if it's inside the structure. I mean, technically you can if you really wanted to, but this wouldn't qualify as an entry because price would have to break and close outside of the structure. It's not within the structure, it'd have to be outside of the structure. So yeah, definitely, Agus. So Agus said the latest buy signal. So this signal is within a structure, right? If you know the requirements for the strategy, K²SR zone trading strategy on the 4-hour time frame, first you need to confirm break and close as K²SR level or K²SR zone. right? So that's the first requirement. Second requirement is confirmed direction of momentum. That's pretty much all you need to look out for. Momentum. So this signal right here doesn't qualify the first requirement, right? It needs to break and close past the K2SR zone. So it's inside a zone. In order for it to be a valid entry, it has to break and close outside of the zone. So it needs to go above here and break and close outside of here. This wouldn't be an entry yet, but if it closes above here, then it would be an entry, and then you can write it to the next zone. And then if it does it again right here, breaks and closes past this structure, then you can write it to the next zone from there. So that's pretty much what you'd have to be looking for, Aga. I wouldn't take it right here. I know some people do take these trades right here, which it's possible. It looks like it plays out fine, but it's just a risky trade, and I wouldn't recommend taking it. It just doesn't fall under the requirements. So that's it for GA. Looking at GJ over here, we did this analysis earlier. So if you guys want to go and look back at it, it's available. You just replay this live. But basically, we have a rejection off this point. Sell signal right here, price broke structure. So Billy took this trade right here. He's in profit pretty heavy right now, right? Billy, I think you're in profit, man, 20 something pips. You're in profit maybe like 220 bucks right now, if not like 300 bucks, because I know it is worth a bit more. So this is looking good right here if you guys took this trade. I didn't call this trade because it's too early in the market. I don't want to call any risky trades at this point. Let's see, Aga said, yes, just started to learn this strategy. And I think it was in one of the examples that it broke bottom zone, trade was valid, but it might be mistaken. Clarify it very well. But this clarifies it very well. Yeah, no problem, Aga. So let me just go back to GA again. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, Aga. So yeah, this right here would have been an entry as well. So at this point right here, this would have been an entry because we had a rejection up this point, then a sell signal, and then price broke structure right here. The reason why we wouldn't have taken this trade is because the GA was bullish during this last week. So last week it was bullish overall. I mean, obviously these are the basics of the strategy here. Like you would ride this to this point, and your TP1 would have been over here. So if you're using the exit strategy, you would have moved your stop loss and profit when it reached this point. So then you would have gotten out of this trade. But this is just the bare fundamentals of trading, right? The bare fundamentals is having the strategy down. On top of that, you have to add in the other confluences. Like you have to understand that even if you have this entry right here, if all of the GBP pairs are bullish, you're not going to take a trade against it, right? Because momentum's swinging upwards. So that's why we didn't, I mean, we wouldn't have taken this trade here. But if you were just following the basic strategy without using other confluences, like looking at how strong the pound is versus the Aussie dollar, or following news or anything like that, then yeah, you could have taken that trade, but then that would be important for you to use your exit strategy to, you know, get out of the trade before it would reverse on you, obviously. So like looking at this right here, yeah, pretty much right here, this would qualify as an entry, Aga. So you're proper with that. It's just you should add other confluences to make sure that it's actually going that direction and it's not just a retracement. Because sometimes you'll see retracements here, right? So you'll see price come up, it swings down, and then you have the sell signal right here. So this technically would have been an entry as well. But like I mentioned, you have to add other confluences to determine, you know, whether it's an actual momentum swing that direction or if that's just like a temporary pullback. Because I think there was some news on this day. So like on the 13th right here, let me check the calendar real quick. Yeah, so there was news during that time right here. Let me see when that closed. Was 1800 hours. That's about, it was in the afternoon. So depending on, I feel like there was something that was going on the 13th, because I know that we didn't really take that many trades on the 13th. Let me see what day was that on my calendar. 13th was Wednesday. Was that when the Capitol Hill thing happened? I can't remember. Something happened on this day, and I know that we didn't really take trades on that day. Let me check my calendar over here as well. Yeah, something. Oh, that's when Biden's stimulus plan came out, Aga. So if you were following the news on the 13th, the only reason I remember that is because all of the JPY pairs reversed on us. So we actually took this trade right here. Let me see how this came down. Yeah, we actually took this trade right here, August. So you're correct with identifying that trade because we did take that trade on that day. So let me go here to GBP odd. So looking at GBP odd, I did call that trade right there, the one that you just identified, and we hit TP1, but then we got out at TP1 right there, right? So price came down, hit TP1, then we moved our stop loss and profit because at that point, that was when Biden released his stimulus plan. And when he released the stimulus plan, it pushed price up very heavily. So right when he released the plan, it shot up straight from there all the way up. So you're right with it with that identification. Aga, you're 100%. That was just my bad because I wasn't thinking about the extra stuff that happens behind the scenes that affects these pairs as well. So we did call that trade, and it's good that you identified that. So that's pretty much it for GA right there. We looked at GJ already. GN right here. Let me see if there's any other zones that we haven't covered. See this. All right, so these are good right here. All the zones are proper on this point. I'll hide the indicator, turn on the momentum indicator. It's on already. So we have a bullish bias right here, but like I've been mentioning, the pound is weak right now. So looking at the pound over here, it is weak, but it could be swinging back up. So it's currently pulling down right now, but looking at the NZD over here, this thing's super weak, right? So just comparing these two indexes with GN right now, since the pound is weak, but the NZD is weaker, we would probably take this for a bullish bias. So looking at this, for example, right here, we have a rejection from this point. We have a bullish signal right here. We want price to break above the structure right here and close. That way we can take a long position from here and pretty much ride it to this next structure over here for about 60 pips. So this is basically what we see happening over here and what I anticipate to happen moving forward. So we would want to wait for this to break above this structure and close. Then we can take a buy signal and pretty much ride this to the next structure up here. That's pretty much it for GN. GE over here, I think GE is going to come down. I analyzed this earlier for Flynn, I think, or someone else in the group. But basically, we have a rejection off this point, sell signal right here. We're waiting for price to break below this structure right here. Then we can take a short position from this point down to this structure right here for like a gain of about 75 pips. So that's pretty much it for GE right there. I'll move on to the next one, NZD CAD. See if the zones have changed since last week. It's like this one's gone. Anything else here? This one's gone as well. It's better because it cleans up the chart quite a bit. Everything else looks fine. I'm gonna hide that right there. Obviously right here, we have a sell bias. So we have a rejection off this point. We have a sell signal. From this point right here, it came down to test this structure. We had price break structure again right here, which is coming down to test this structure. So what we'd want here again is we would want price to break below this structure again right here, come back down from this point, test this structure right here. And then once this happens right here, we can take a short position right here and write it down to here for full TP. So this is our bias here for NZD CAD. Until we get a buy signal, this is pretty much what we'll be looking for. Reason for this as well is because, like I mentioned earlier, the NZD is very weak, right? It's weak right here. So with that said, this is probably going to head down further because if the NZD is weak, then the Canadian dollar is probably going to be stronger. Looking at the Canadian dollar over, where's the Canadian dollar at? Where did I put it at? This is NZD dollar index. There we go, Canadian dollar right here. So you can see right here that it is bullish, right? So just looking at the Canadian dollar right here, pretty bullish from that point. So looking at NZD CAD right here, obviously, if that's the case, it's probably gonna come down right here, break the structure. Once it breaks structure right there, you can continue to write it down even further. So that's basically what I see happening here for NZD CAD. So that's pretty much it for this pair right here as well. NZD CHF. Like I mentioned, the NZD looks pretty weak right now. So with that said, we would probably anticipate this to push down further. We have a rejection from this point. Sell signal right there. We need price to break below the structure and close. It needs to break and close below that structure. Once that happens right there, you can possibly take, a short position right there, or even down here. So, I mean, first things first is if it breaks below this structure, then it's probably going to continue down further to test this structure. And then best case scenario is it keeps pushing down here. And then you could pretty much ride this down further right there, right? For about a 30 pip gain. But it's like I've been discussing this whole session, guys, that CHF is a weird pair. So I'd be very careful if you're going to trade something like this. But you can see here, obviously it's coming down. So that's pretty much what we see happening here for NZD CHF. All right, on to the next one, NZD JPY. Same situation here for all the JPY pairs. They're very, very bullish. I mean, bearish, sorry, opposite, bearish. We have a rejection from that point. Sell signal right here. We don't want this to close below this structure over here. And then once that happens, we can take a short position down here. So this obviously has a bearish bias right here. And this is basically what I see happening, from this point. And this just lines up and it correlates with the other JPY pairs. So odd JPY, bearish, Cad Jpy, bearish, EJ, bearish, GJ, bearish, NJ, bearish. So once it breaks and closes past this structure, then we can anticipate it to drop down even further from this point, way down here. So that's basically what I'm waiting for at this point. Cameron said, which broker do you pick your trading view pairs? One does the most, people tell me. So Cameron, I personally recommend using Forex.com. From my own experience trading, I found Forex.com data to be the most accurate, and it moves a lot smoother. I mean, they're both decent brokers, but I found Forex.com to be a lot more accurate. I used to use FXCM and that was shit. Like I would never go back to that broker data. And then I went to Oanda and it was good for a bit until I compared it with Forex.com data. And this was the best data that I could find that had smoother, like everything just moved a lot smoother on Forex.com versus Oanda. So I recommend Forex.com for Forex pairs. For indices, I recommend using currency.com. So like, for example, here, I use currency.com for indices. And that's pretty much it. If those two aren't available, then you can use any data that you can find. But for me personally, those are the ones that I recommend. All right, looking at NZD USD, like I mentioned earlier, the NZD is very, very weak right now. So what I see happening at this point, I see rejection from there. I see a sell signal right here. Price broke structure right here. And then what happens from there? Price pushes down and then tests this structure. So from this point, price can continue down further, break this structure right here, or it can reject off this point and shoot up from there. So odds are it's probably going to break into this structure and continue down further. Let me see if the zones are on proper. Yeah, there's too many zones in here. So I wouldn't even trade it if it gets into the structure because it can reject it at any point from there as well. But I think definitely overall, it has a sell bias same with all the other NZD pairs. And I think this will continue down further, but I wouldn't enter until it breaks below here because the last thing you want to do is enter a sell once it reaches a zone and it can reject off this point. It can reject off this point. It can reject off this point, or it can reject off this point. So I would wait for that full confirmation for it to break below the structure before taking a trade. But I do think it's going to continue down further. So that's pretty much what I see happening for NZD USD. USD CAD's up next. Looking at USD CAD, this is kind of an iffy pair. It's kind of weird because actually, no, it's not in Canadian dollar. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of so this is starting to push up, right? So we have a bullish bias right here with this current candle because, obviously it's in an uptrend right here and it's pushing up. On top of that, the US dollar is also strong and pushing up as well right here, right? So they're both bullish pairs. The only problem is that the US dollar is actually stronger than the Canadian dollar right now. So that's why UCAD is pushing up. But you know, we don't know how strong is this going to continue for. Is this going to continue to push up, or is it going to drop at some point? Which it probably will, because you know it can only push up so much until it has to come back down. So with that said, for the dollar index, the Canadian dollar index can continue up even further because it actually retraced. So it retraced right here, and then it can push back from that point. The problem with the dollar index is that it's been pushing for a while now. It's pushed up from this point and hasn't retraced yet. So it can retrace back at any point, right? So using that, for example, if they're both bullish, then USD CAD is probably just going to go sideways. However, if the US dollar continues to push up stronger, then it'll push up higher. If the US dollar gets weaker and the Canadian dollar gets stronger, then it'll probably push down from there, right? So those are things to look at when analyzing something like this. But looking at the USD CAD, we have a rejection from this point. Buy signal right there. Broken structure. What happens when it breaks in structure? It tests the next structure right here. So at this point right here, we'd want price to break this structure above here and close. If that happens right there, you can take a long position right here and pretty much just ride it to this structure right here for like 30 pips, right? You can ride that for a small little move. And then as price comes up and pushes above this structure over here, you can catch the big move right there and ride this up from this point for like a 70 pip gain right there. So that's basically what I see happening for USD CAD. But you know, like I mentioned earlier, it's just going to be something risky to take because the dollar index is strong and the Canadian dollar index is strong as well. The only thing is, how long is this dollar index going to be strong for? Like, you don't want to enter a buy for USD CAD and then this ends up dropping. And then if this ends up dropping, USD CAD is going to drop with it, right? It's going to reject off this point right here. So that's why you want that full confirmation for price to break this structure before you actually enter the trade, because there's no guarantee it's going to continue up. You know, you'd have to have that full confirmation before you enter that trade. Let's see if there's anything else here. USD CHF, and then we have UJ lastly, and that's about it, guys. So if you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat. You know, otherwise, we will be calling it at night, and then we will be looking at pairs more in detail tomorrow when the market's actually open. Well, tomorrow's actually a US holiday, guys, so it's not going to be fully open, but I mean, we'll still be on for the most part. I'll see if there's anything that we can look at, but I think the market overall is going to be pretty slow until the market's fully open. So looking at USD CHF right here. Looking at USD CHF right here, we have, you know, like I mentioned, the US dollar is strong right now. We have a rejection from this point. We have a buy signal right here. So we have a bullish bias. What we want to happen right here is we want price to break the structure above here. Then we can take a long position from there up until the next structure way up here for a gain of about 60 pips, right? But we need price to break and close above that structure. The problem with this is that price hasn't broken, closed above this structure in a long time, since December over here. And this was just a small retracement up. You know, obviously during December, we wouldn't have taken this because the US dollar was super weak. But now that it's recovering, if it does break above this structure, like it's trying to right here, if it breaks and closes above it, you can take that long position right there. So keep that in mind. That's pretty much USD CHF. Terrell said, I think DXY will be strong until additional stimulus is actually printing after Biden gets in office. I agree too, Terrell. So that's why I'm not like really sure how it's going to play out. You know, obviously it's pushing up pretty strong just looking at the DXY. But like I mentioned, it's going to have to drop at some point, right? Because once they start printing money, it's going to weaken the value of the US dollar. So I would just be careful with a lot of trades this week because there's a lot of big events. So if you guys aren't familiar, tomorrow is MLK Day. That's a federal holiday in the US. So the US markets are going to be closed. And then Wednesday, we have Biden taking office for his inauguration. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of craziness going on. I'm sure there's going to be like another crazy protest going on. So, I mean, we'll just have to see how the market reacts to all that, right? There's no predicting really what's going to happen until that actually happens. So, right here with UJ, I think UJ is pretty bearish as well. Using this for an example, we have rejection from this point. We have the sell signal right here. What would you want is so we have a price that came down, came back up, retested the structure. We want it to come down and close below this structure right here. Once it comes down and closes below the structure right here, then we can take a short position right there and pretty much ride this down to the next structure down there for a gain of about 50 pips. And the reason for this, obviously the bias is a sell because we have a sell signal, but looking at the other JPY pairs like Jpy, Cad Jpy, Eurojpy, GJ, NJ, and now UJ, they're all bearish, right? So they're all correlating pairs, and we could see this possibly dropping as well. But I wouldn't take this trade until it closes below the structure. The reason for that is because you can see when it broke below the structure right here, it retraced up a bit, right? Reason for that is because it's too close to this structure right here. You want that confirmation for it to close below. Because if you look back how it happened in the past over here, we had a rejection from this point. We had a sell signal right here. It was a close below structure. And then what happened? It pushed down to here, right? Same situation. So if this happens right here, rejection, rejection, sell signal, retracement, slight retracement. And if it closes below the structure again down here, then we could anticipate this to drop even further. So that's basically what I see happening here for UJ. But yeah, guys, so I think that's about it. I don't see anything else for us to look at right now. Going back to our US 30 position right here, it's just consolidating. Like I mentioned, tomorrow's a US holiday, so this might have been a bad trade for us to enter because of how the market is moving. Obviously the US market might be, it's going to be closed tomorrow. I'm not sure if the US 30 is going to be open, but it might be open since it's a future. But we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. I did get a couple emails from FTMO telling me some updates, but I'm not sure if there's really anything specific for us to really look at for now. So I think that's about it, guys. Unless you guys have any other questions, I think that's about it for tonight. Obviously we don't want to go too in detail tonight because the market's just not really moving right now. There's not really much to take right now. I don't know if you guys saw my odd USD I took earlier. I took the speculative sell right here, but it's in profit right now. It's looking good. But yeah, other than that, our Euro odd is still active right here. I'm in some drawdown for that, but it's fine. I think it's going to come back down. But yeah, I think that's it for here. And our US 30 is still active as well. So other than that, I think that's about it. Let's see. Cameron said, when would be a good time to start an FTMO? So Cameron, there's not really a good time to start FTMO. It just really depends on how confident you feel about taking it. Because the thing is, if you're trying to time your entry, like even though we have all these news coming up this week, it could be good for the market. Like it literally push volatility, hitting our market. Hitting our TPs like all week long, right? Because just because there's news and the market's kind of crazy doesn't mean that it's a bad market. It's going to cause volatility in the market, which can play out in our favor. So, it just really depends on when you want to take it personally. If you feel comfortable and you think you can pass it, then you can take it right now if you want, because we don't know if this upcoming week's just going to be straight TPs, right? If that happens and you don't take your challenge, you're going to regret not taking it and just waiting. But it's a double-edged sword, right? There's no guarantee this week's going to be a great week. There's no guarantee it's going to be a bad week. So there isn't really a good answer for that. If you're ready to take it, then take it. If you're not ready to take it, then hold off and wait until you're ready. But there's really no specific time. I get this question all the time, and there's really no answer to it, because like, for example, here, let me see if I could pull up the results from like November, or actually from like September. So let me go over here real quick. Let me go back to our results from the end of year. All right, so looking at the end of year profits over here. So if you look at our US 30 trades over here for August. So the thing with the market is that a lot of people think that the market's slow during the summer, right? So we had a lot of people. I started my FTMO here in May, I think. And a lot of people were like, oh, I'm going to sit out the market during summer. I'm going to take FTMO once the summer's over. If you didn't trade during the summer, you would have missed out on all these pips right here, right? So that's what I mean about like there's really no timing the market, because you can make profit like anytime. The only time which would have been risky was November. The reason for that's because we have so many holidays in November, right? We have Black Friday. It's not really a holiday. The market's closed. We have Thanksgiving, which is like a whole week. So we kind of didn't take trades for like a whole week here. And it was also the presidential election in the beginning of November. So we didn't trade we did trade, but we didn't trade as much as we normally do the first week in November. And then we didn't trade like the last 2 weeks. So that's why you see a big, huge pip difference right here, right? Normally we have like 9,000, 14,000, 16,000, 7,000, 8,000 pips. The only difference is November here, where we only had about 3,000 pip profit. And then it bounced from there to December to 11,000 pips, right? So the only time that I would say would be a risky time to take FTMO would probably be November. Other than that, I mean, everything is pretty consistent. You shouldn't have any issue with regard to any month that you take it. It's just going to really depend on, if you're ready for it or not. Oh, Cameron said with all the changes. So there's not really going to be much of a change, Cameron. I don't know if, what changes are you referring to? Are you referring to like the presidency? Are you referring to changes with FCMO? I don't think it's not really going to affect anything at all. We're still going to keep trading every day. It's not like we're going to stop trading just because, Biden becomes president. We're probably going to trade even more because it's going to increase volatility with all these policies that he's implementing. So, just quick answer to your question is just take it if you're ready. If you're not ready, then hold off until you are ready. But other than that, I think there's no way to really time the market, because regardless as to whether you decide to take it now or take it later, we're still going to be trading. So it's just really up to you if you want to take it or not. But yeah, I think that's about it, guys. So that's it. It looks like we're all done with the questions. Yeah, I think that's about it for tonight. So if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like the stream, that'll definitely help us continue to grow the channel. And I think that's about it, guys. So tomorrow I'll be live again tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. I know the market's going to be closed for the US, but I'll still be on with you guys. I'll be on to hang out with you guys in the morning and see if we can catch any trades. But other than that, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me on Telegram or email me if you guys have any specific questions. And other than that, we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning for the morning session. So till then, guys,